Yo, what up, gang? Welcome back to Doomsday Podcast with your favorite zombie, the Terms. I'm sorry if you see my yellow teeth. I rarely brush my teeth every day. Today, I have Panda here to talk and hear about his response after Hench Clarification. So let's begin. Yo, Panda.
What's up, Terms? I appreciate you for having me on, dude.
You said in your video that people who are supporting this movement are wrong. What's your reason?
Answer your first question, I wouldn't necessarily say anybody is wrong. I'd say my biggest issue about people supporting this movement is that they are willing to burn regions down, but not slow their spending down to avoid, avoiding participating in events such as Island. You know what I mean? Because that's one of the biggest ways that you could actually hurt the developers.
Do you believe sometimes people stated something with good intentions but with bad explanations?
And yeah, I do think that's the case. I mean, I think that happens, or that's kind of bound to happen anywhere in the world, or anybody can really say anything that, comes off another way. And, they didn't actually mean it how they said it.
Why didn't you clarify to Hench first about his statement, when you know probably he explained it badly?
So I didn't actually imagine he clarified it badly. The thing is, when you openly say that your intention is to kill the game, and your opening statement, which was, the big statement that he sent out, had said that he planned to kill regions off, and even the messages being spread through English channels by H&B were saying that they plan to burn regions down. There's nothing that I was really confused about, and I simply took what they said and I elaborated on it. It's not like I put words in anybody's mouth. It's not like I assumed that they were misspoken or something. I mean, they said it on multiple accounts, so it did seem pretty obvious what, the goal was for me, or what they were planning to do. So I just, don't really think anything I said there was necessarily wrong. I also think you have to understand what I stated was I think the popular opinion it had always been. It's not like I took the information from Wakanda and reported on it. Most people had already come to the conclusion that was kind of the case, and everybody who messaged me was also kind of coming to that case, and they were like, yo, this is insane, and I just reported on the information that I was kind of given.
Every player's movements are mostly based on personal agendas. But doesn't the immigration event give those players unlimited chances to do that?
So the thing you got to understand is, yes, that's true, but then again, people are just hopping around, right? And they're not, they don't move just purely based off personal agenda, or not everybody does, right? You have some people who might migrate around for maybe specifically TC, or if I go to H&B, or I go to ROK, or if I go to Boon right now, I am moving off the personal agenda. But there is also more that is kind of put into my my decision making, right? Some people are just purely personal agenda, and the event does help with people kind of moving around if they want to be more flexible and stuff. But I'm gonna use something that I saw in my comment section, and credit to Z, but he basically mentions that wouldn't having loyal players be allowing them the option to leave or not, and forcing them to stay for months waiting to migrate because they can't actually afford the cost, is just kind of stupid. And if they don't end up liking the alliance or the group they've joined, they simply can't afford to leave. Wouldn't that be kind of counterproductive? Rather than playing with a group that doesn't want to be there, you should want to play with a group that actually wants to be there. This also might affect their performance in islands and stuff if they aren't willing to fight for a group they don't want to be in. You can't blame the game, but if you decide to run a whale alliance, these are things I think that whale alliances generally just face a lot. And I think the difficulty of maintaining loyalty is just a thing that a lot of whale alliances face, and just alliances in the game. You know what I mean? It's hard. I feel like it's also harder and easier at the same flip of the coin for whale alliances to recruit. So I mean, there's a lot to be faced, but I think it's really an issue of being in a whale alliance, not the game's fault for simply allowing migration of it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of my take on that. That's just my opinion. I think H&B's problem that they've kind of mentioned isn't unique to them, nor is it unique to only whale alliances, right? You have a lot of players in a lot of regions moving based off a personal agenda. So, yeah.
Do you agree with Hansz's statement that an event should have a time limit?
So I'd say I agree and disagree. I don't think the event has to come around every half a year. I think a cooldown timer would be just fine, when migrating, although I don't disagree completely either if the feature was added to where it was a, exclusive event that only came around half a year. I think this would still be better than the current feature, you know what I mean, where you're able to just migrate around every single second of the day. So I do agree and I disagree to an extent.
What was the reason for you to say they're not willing to go through the full length to stop the immigration event? Like boycotting spending.
So I never said I wasn't willing to boycott spending. Also, you should note that I only spend like $5 a month. So I feel like I'm already boycotting more than like the average player or like the average spender, right? I only made that point to say that they weren't willing to boycott. And I don't even think it's their fault completely, because even if a group wants to boycott spending, my point was that it's nearly impossible to actually boycott spending, because even if like one person is passionate about it, even if you want to boycott spending personally, if I tell my whole alliance to stop spending right now, I doubt even half of them are going to listen. They're going to be like, okay, I'll stop spending. And they're still going to buy packs secretly, right? It's just kind of is how it is. The game doesn't stop moving for nobody. Other players are still spending. Other whales are still grinding up. There are still events coming around, and it makes people itch. You know what I mean? You get that crackhead itch on your neck where you want to spend. But that was really only a point to kind of make. The thing is, even if they are willing, you saw them literally spend thousands before they announced the boycott on those legendary skins. I don't think they were willing to boycott Island because they still showed up to Island, which would have been one of the most effective, if not the most effective way at boycotting, because just not participating in events is one of the most effective ways to kind of cut off the revenue for like developers and stuff. I also like to mention that DHX, who is supposed to be on boycott, also had over 2 million points on the Alliance Journey event. At least I heard this from players who were in the island, right? And if you don't know, Alliance Journey, I think you can only get like 100 or 200 to maybe even maximum, I'd say 300k points, right, without spending. And HMB also had over 800k, which is both considered a lot of spending. Not to mention ROK, right? Plus plenty of players who are buying the Mechanical Dragon already. So it doesn't seem like anybody's taking the boycott spending thing very seriously. And that's my main problem. When you tell people that you will and you don't, you may actually encourage random players to boycott when you're not willing to do it. Also, although I can't confirm, there's a big group in like region 326 called ROKI. And on their board, they're affiliated with ROK, Loves, Evils, 147A, which is also ROK affiliated. So either they're using their name falsely or they're taking over a newer region. And my issue isn't them exactly doing it. The issue is it's directly against their agenda, and it's not like it's stopping at, it's not stopping any of these whale alliances. So, I just had, and it's not like they had problems like moving to new regions, right, to obtain legendary skins or obtaining heroes in Top Commander or anything previously. So I don't get why they have such a disdain for the event right now.
Do you know that they actually aimed for the bullies beside to stop the immigration event?
So I have to say no, because their statements had zero indication, and the only thing they mentioned were killing the game, killing regions, and burning regions, right? There was no indication of that, so there was no way for me to actually know.
You stated that you feel like it's just an excuse and flimsy argument of them.
Yes, and when you're telling people that you plan to kill a game, kill regions, burn regions, even mentioning visit all the regions, right? Because it's not like you're just saying, oh, I'm only going to go to the regions that are getting invaded, or I'm only going to regions with, that are new regions getting players coming there and trying to take over those regions. And you also threaten to come to region 1 and burn people, or you kind of indicate it to, I guess, take a jab at me, right? You're not really showing me that you actually care about the cause that you're kind of making a big deal about. If you can't actually boycott, why should I believe that this is something genuine that they're actually doing for the community? And not because they want to, but because maybe they've been upset that they've lost a lot of players, or they, have a lot of players migrating out. If you actually care, I'd love to see actual drops on spending, actually not participating in events. And that's why I said, I think that, I don't really believe it until they show otherwise. And that's just kind of my stance there.
What more delicious, watermelon or pumpkins?
So I'd have to say watermelons. I can't imagine myself eating pumpkins, right? Like, I'm also allergic to uncooked fruit, so do recognize that, okay? So I'm taking a big gamble here.
What measures do you think game developers could implement to improve communication and address player concerns more effectively?
So I feel like they have a suggestion area on Discord, right? You can potentially send tickets as well. They are doing like better by responding to, by sending like developer feedback. Although I did wish that they were overall more open when sending like, maybe sending more mails, telling the latest stuff that they plan on implementing. Sometimes they can be a bit sneaky. So, I do think that the developers are doing better in this regard, but I do think they could still, improve and do better and, be more open, do better at like kind of responding to some suggestions, but it is kind of hard, especially considering I'm a moderator, right, on the Discord. And I kind of understand like, I think the admins kind of have like, very limited how much they can do themselves, and they can only pass along like some of the higher voted suggestions. So people actually have to really like upvote these suggestions if they want them passed along to developers and kind of put into the potential feedback loop.
The actions like boycotting spending and burning regions are discussed in terms of their impact on the game's economy. How might these actions influence the in-game economy? And what repercussions could they have on the overall gaming experience?
If this actually went through, boycotting and spending, if they could actually do it, I think this could be massive. And if they can actually convince other alliances to participate while they're doing it, I think that could be a massive drop in the revenue, and this could be very detrimental at like making the devs actually move their hand, right? As for burning regions, it can be argued about how effective this is at actually boycotting the game. My video cover that was covering the whole situation covered this a lot, and this was one of my main points in my video. I just saying this might be more counterproductive, if not just completely ineffective at, boycotting, right? For one, it takes forever to kind of burn towers down. They'd have to burn towers down one by one by one by one, burn their way to mid. They'd have to make a new alliance in most cases, right? Unless they're joining an already established alliance within the region. And after the fact, for whoever wasn't like smart enough to kind of teleport out to maybe zone 2 or something after seeing them from a mile away, that was one of my points. The thing is, for people who don't teleport right away, right, even if you burn those players, there's an 8-hour shield that goes up on them. And you are likely to spend if you fight, right? If you need to fight people like this, you're likely to spend, or you're likely to spend if you're recouping losses, or someone is likely to spend, right, that you may incur on them. And if it actually if it's specifically to stop migrators from moving to new regions or invading regions and killing regions, I completely think that this is a big positive for the game, and I think this is a big upside, and I would definitely love that. I would definitely love this, and I'd even be willing to participate in something like this, right? Because it is something that I had personally been trying to help with months ago when the migration event was earlier out and regions were getting invaded. Just something like, I just think that would be a good thing.
The Alliance leadership decisions, like Boons' decision against participating in the described actions. How influential do you believe Alliance leadership is in shaping the actions and perspectives of their members within the game?
So I'd say in Boon, it may be more effective at shaping perspectives since everyone here loves Nam. And I think, he's just a really cool dude, and I think everybody trusts and respects him. So listening to his word is kind of just a given by most players. That being said, before Nam shut down people who might have been talking about it at all, just said, no, we're not doing this. The thing is, most people were already against it, at least in Discord, because the thing is, you got to understand in the official statement that Hansz made, he mentions killing off regions. He's not talking about saving them. He's not talking about going there and protecting them. He mentions purely killing off regions. Nobody else had anything else to take from that. Nobody else had an indicator that was anything else. And then, when you're also saying that you plan to, your intention is to kill the game, that is exactly what people are imagining, and that's exactly what people were thinking. So that's what people were coming to the conclusion of, and I don't disagree. When it's worded like that, that's what you're going to take it as. You're going to take it at face value.
How might Boons' stance impact the Alliance's reputation within the gaming community? And what could be the potential benefits or drawbacks of maintaining such a position?
Honestly, I'm not really sure. Some people might think that they're refusing to help because they don't want to help new players. Some people might think they're refusing to help because they just refuse to burn regions down, because that's what Boon declined for. That was one of the main reasons, I believe, right? Everyone's going to have their own opinion at the end of the day. Everyone's going to believe what they want. And for me, I just have to see it before I believe it, right? I'm not going to conclude anything until I actually see a region on fire or towers on fire. But I simply give my take, and I gave my take I just gave my commentary as I normally do, right? I'm not but it's not like by not participating, you're the devil either. So I can't imagine people would like simply hate Boone for kicking their feet back and staying in their region, right?
What alternative strategies or methods do you think they could employ to advocate for changes within the game while still maintaining a positive player experience?
So for this question, I find this to be a little bit hard, right? Because to maintain a positive player experience, I'd assume things like boycotting Island and stuff or boycotting spending aren't on the table since, whales obviously enjoy spending. I'd say by sending a ton of tickets repeatedly every day, like tons of players just flooding the ticket system, that could probably piss off the devs enough, with people just spamming it day by day, saying how they want changes, they want restrictions, maybe mass upvoting it in the suggestion channels on Discord, even just, everybody coming in the like official Discord server and constantly, saying this, change it. Even people doing videos like me, like I did multiple videos criticizing this event, saying that I didn't like it, or not that I didn't like it, I just thought there should be more restrictions, right? But to be honest, if you're boycotting at all, player experience is probably already shaky. So it's pretty hard to maintain an extremely positive player experience, right? So I guess you got to go to these extreme measures.
How do you envision a more collaborative approach between players and developers to address concerns and improve the overall gaming experience?
I think what I said before covers it more or less, just people spamming tickets, suggestions, flooding the Discord for weeks, however long it needs to be, cutting their spending, refusing to play Island, which really would hit the devs. I think these type of actions could really negatively impact them and really force them to kind of, move their hand.
Besides the rivalry between HNB and Boon, do you think there is a chance for both of y'all to work together to make this game's environment, and especially Doomsday community, better?
I would say it's possible, but I'd also say it's less likely, right? Because after the comments that were made about Boon, that kind of stuff upsets players, right? You don't want to be smeared or lied about or, be made out to be people who are refusing to help new players when that clearly wasn't the case when people turned down the offer, right, to collaborate and stuff. So it just seems unlikely that Boone would be as willing to help as they might have been at the start. That's all.
What do Frog and Apple have in common?
You might be thinking of an apple tree, and if it's not, I don't know the answer, but it's that they're both alive, I'm pretty sure.
Shit, how do you know the answer? Do you agree if the immigration event is closed for now? Or the dev schedules the immigration event for specific time like other events?
So I don't think the migration event necessarily needs to close. I think they need a migration cooldown timer. They should close regions without a metro. Maybe they change it so that presidents can accept who migrates to them in the region. But I don't disagree if they do turn it into an event and brought back maybe the regular cost, right? And at least we would still have a method to migrate for $1 every few months or something, which would satisfy players. The only concern is imagine you migrate to a region and then you're stuck there for a few months or half a year because you can't afford the migration tickets and you can only wait for that $1 event that comes around half a year. I think that would be pretty bad. So I do think the month cooldown timer would be just fine for me. And I think that would be fine for many players and that would work out pretty well.
Do you heard Hench Clarifications? Do you agree with his plan?
And yes, I myself would obviously agree with his clarification, right? I mean, I myself had tried in the past to help quell some invasions in some regions. I also tried to help these regions that got invaders, in them. I tried to, that were trying to push natives out, right? I think my biggest issue were regions that were already established getting invaded because obviously I can't just go to every region that just started and be everybody out, right? That's not something I can realistically do. I can do my best to maybe push a group out that's already coming into an established region where everybody's kind of there, peaceful, etc., right? Yeah, I wasn't a whale, so there was obviously a limit to the amount of help I could give due to the fact that I couldn't recover my dead troops very fast, or I couldn't help as much because dead troops were very detrimental to just my impact, right? So I could only help to a limit and to an extent. So yeah, I mean, so I would definitely be with it. Whereas if Boone would participate, I'm not completely sure. I think Nom and members alike would be less willing after the statements they made against us. He might let some whales do what they want if they want to, but I don't really think most of Boone would be willing after everything that's kind of gone down. I myself might be willing to participate with this if it is just to stop invaders and stuff, I would love that because that is just something I did in the past, right? That's just something I'm kind of with. So yeah, that is about it.
What's your message to Hansz or HNB and its families?
So my big thing I would say is honestly don't lie about me because of my criticism. If you're going to make statements on me, at least watch the video and watch my points, which aren't even twisting your words. And don't make baseless statements when you can't even tell me where my statements have been twisted or I've spread lies about your group. And honestly, my issue isn't even him doing videos clarifying his intentions for the event. But when you do multiple interviews, and I mean multiple, trying to smear me as some malicious person who lies for clicks, that's going extremely far. And that does come off as malicious. And it is baffling when I get discredited and slandered for simply voicing someone else's words that they said themselves, and I merely elaborate on said words and gave legit criticism. You don't see the developers telling the community that they got their facts lied about, etc. when I do videos on events giving my criticism about said events. I have no problem with them clarifying their intentions or what they wanted to do. I would have gladly given a platform for them to do such a thing, but to slander me was going extremely far, and it's not like I've not criticized the event myself since before it started. So honestly, I would like to just ask people who are sending me hate to take a step back and really think about everything. If the president of, let's say, the United States declares war on a country and the news picks it up and talks about said statements that he made and how it'll affect the economy and etc., right? And then everyone in the office tells the president, oh yeah, you said that wrong, by the way, that was poorly worded, and that, they aren't going to war and they're just doing skirmishes or something. Are you going to sue the news networks and say that they're just slandering you for taking you at your word and quoting you? Or will you simply own up to your mistake and acknowledge that, take accountability and reword your statements to match your intentions? I was far from the only person who saw your statements as such, and to blame people for interpreting a message how it was conveyed seems ludicrous. If this is the approach they take and want to call anybody critical of them liars or haters, do you want everybody to take their statements with a grain of salt from now on? Or do you rather everybody to believe every word that comes out of your mouth is a lie? I think owning up to your faults and admitting when you're wrong, can do you better and shows a lot of maturity and shows that you're grown and above, your stupid drama. If you're facing issues with my rebuttals to any statements made against me, ask yourself, given my circumstances, would you allow someone to bold-faced lie about you on such a grand scale in multiple interviews? That's it. I really just hope people can kind of see the light to the situation and why I've kind of taken up my pitchforks, So, yeah, I appreciate it.
What's your message to Doomsday community?
Honestly, my message is nothing special. If people really dislike the migration event or they want changes in the migration event, more restrictions and stuff, I think, everybody should be given the option to speak up. I think everybody should be able to push for change, be it, in the game or even in real life, right? At the end of the day, we are all just players and, our experience is what makes the game. So I think if the community wants changes and, everybody is voicing that, I think that should correlate, the changes should correlate with what everybody wants, what the community wants. And, with that, you really got to ruffle the death's feathers though at the end of the day. So people really got to be adamant on what they want and the changes they want.
So, thanks Panda for allowing me to interview you. And I hope both of the podcasts with Hench and Panda can bring something good for Doomsday community. So the Terms is out. See you again.